Hey guys, today it is Sunday, March 22nd, 2020, and since it is Sunday, it is time for us to once again round up. So, on that note, folks, welcome to yet another episode of Rockzilla's Weekly Roundup, my weekly, for the most part, weekly podcasts. So, for the second week in a row, as you can see, there will be a visual element in the video today. When I did this video back on Monday, because I filmed it on Sunday and I wasn't happy with what I filmed my last weekly roundup video outside in the outdoors, because I don't know about you guys, but sitting there outside on that nice, beautiful sunny day this past Monday where I live I found it rather therapeutic and mentally calming. So I thought, if I could maybe even uplift the spirits of one person watching that video, I thought to myself, you know what, it's totally worth it, eh? So, thought I'd do that last week, and I did. So, this week I've decided to change things up in order to keep things hopefully interesting for you folks watching at home, wherever you are. I've brought back something out of my vault, and it's a jersey backdrop. So, on the left, this is not the first time I've had this jersey as a jersey backdrop in recent months. I've used it a few times. But on the left, obviously, is my beautiful Ottawa Senators third jersey. And to change things up, I thought I'd throw in my beautiful 2019 Chicago Blackhawks Winter Classic sweater as well. So besides the collar on the Senators jersey you see here, these are both a pair of absolutely gorgeous jerseys and uniforms as far as I'm concerned. Obviously, beauty is in the eyes of the beholder, but I love vintage style looks like these for the most part. Not all of them, but most of them. And these, in my opinion, are a pair of gorgeous jerseys. So I thought I'd change things up by throwing in a different jersey that I've never used as a backdrop before. And there you go. This is what you'll look at for the duration of this video, basically, while I talk in the background. So, I want to talk about this past week for myself. Now, I know that most of you watching are either A, off of school long term as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, or B, you're laid off of work because of said COVID-19 pandemic. Well, to be honest, in the short term, I am still working. So, I don't know if my work's going to continue to stay open or if I'm going to end up being laid off alongside the rest of my coworkers and managers. But right now, this past week, I had worked full-time. And right now where I work in retail, for anybody curious. And the thing is that right now, while we're still open, it's been extremely busy. And I think what's going on is people are thinking we're going to close. So what it's been doing is it's been causing us to be extremely busy and far busier than we normally are, especially at this time of year, eh? So it's been a very, very, very stressful week for me. For anybody who wasn't working full-time before, well, they're working full-time now where I work. So where I work, a lot of times we're on call. But if you weren't full-time before, you're full-time now. And that's what's been happening to me. So I apologize for the lack of videos. I'm sure that you guys are probably hoping to find some type of video of some sort, whether it's from me or any other YouTuber out there, to keep you and your mind distracted and hopefully entertained. But I apologize for my absence. I've had a lot of stuff on my plate. And truth is, the past month and 2 days has been a really both busy and relatively stressful time for me. And it's been only getting worse as a result of the coronavirus pandemic that's going on right now. So I want to try to make more videos coming up. And if I get laid off because of this, which I'm really hoping and praying that I do, because it's not because I want to stay home from work. I'd rather collect a paycheck every 2 weeks. But you know what? It's in terms of safety. I don't want to get the coronavirus. And not only that, but I also certainly do not want to spread the coronavirus to other people. Because I'm sure all of you are on the same boat that I am. I know people who either A, have medical conditions, or B, are immunocompromised in some way. So, when I see things like people partying in Miami because, oh, it's spring break, seriously, use your head. This is a pandemic. Us younger people, myself included, if we get the coronavirus, we have a better chance to survive it. And I think overall, from what I've heard, younger people are mostly going to be unaffected, hopefully. Now, that may not be totally accurate, but I hope that's the case, at least. And better yet, hopefully, the cases are all going to completely disappear and the world's going to return to normal. Fingers crossed that it happens sooner rather than later. And I know you guys feel the same way. But, right now, whether you're young or you're old, whether you're healthy or you're unhealthy, we need to, as far as I'm concerned, stand together and do our part to get this stupid coronavirus situation under control. Stupid's not the right word. It's scary. That's the word I should be using. It is. And you know what? Even if you're healthy for the most part, do your best. If you don't have to go out anywhere, stay home. If you don't have to work, stay home. If we get the virus, we can spread it to other people. And you know what? Where you would most likely survive COVID-19 if you contract it, the next person may not be so lucky. And this is a really scary situation. The amount of cases are increasing by the hour. Italy is in full-blown shutdown right now. California, I believe, is now on the same path, if they haven't done so already. I believe Gavin Newsom, their governor in California, has stated a full lockdown, basically. And I'm sure places up here in Canada where I live will probably start to be in the same boat. And let me tell you, this is a very scary situation. And I apologize for bringing up the coronavirus, but, I got to be honest, I'm concerned. And if you haven't been concerned about it, you should be. Because even a week ago, I didn't have the same amount of concern that I do now. I'm not going to lie. I was thinking that I was expecting it to spread a little bit more, and I was excuse me. I was hoping that hopefully things would start to get under control a little bit. But now, a week later, I'm actually really quite frustrated that people aren't doing more to distance themselves from other people. Where there are people out there thinking, oh, everything's wonderful. Guess what? It's not. If we don't try to take the measures needed to stop this virus from spreading, not only is it going to get worse, but especially here in Canada and the United States, where it hasn't gotten to the levels of Italy yet, we're going to catch up sooner rather than later. We need to stop this. I mean, I'm sorry for going on a tangent about this, folks, but it's true. The reason I talk about this here is, I think about it. And where the average person in my age bracket, between, 40 years of age and younger, we're probably going to be okay. But if we spread it to an older person, or someone who's immunocompromised, or someone who has an underlying medical condition, whether they're young or old, if they get it, not only are they in trouble, but they very well could die. This could be, it's potentially a life and death situation for anybody who gets it. And, that's a scary thought. So, my work has been extremely crazy this past week because I work in retail, and I've got to be honest, it's really, this is scary stuff. And I really do hope and and pray that this coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic hopefully starts to not be a pandemic anymore, where hopefully we can get this damn pandemic under control. But anyways, I mean, I've talked about it for a while now. I'm gonna try my best to move on. But it's really troubling what's going on right now. And if you haven't been concerned about it, in my opinion, you need to be concerned about it now. That's for damn sure. If you're in a situation where you have to work, then you've got to go. I understand it. And there are things that people have to do. Like, for example, I understand that people have to get groceries. People have to be able to eat and ultimately survive and get their necessities. But, if there's a party going on at somebody's house, don't go. Stay at home. Seriously. If you're a part of a group or something and they're hosting a night, don't go. Stay home. Why do I say this? Because I don't wish COVID-19 on anyone. I don't want to see this kill any more people. And, the situation is really troubling. But, I thought I'd talk about it a bit here for the weekly roundup because I feel it's important. And you're probably going to hear me talk about it a little bit every week going forward until this stupid pandemic is hopefully over sooner rather than later. Until this pandemic is thankfully a disaster of the past like the Spanish flu. But guys, I've got to admit I'm very concerned about this, and hearing from people and finding out that there's people I know that have health conditions and stuff, that really hit home for me, and it hit home for me far more than I had hoped. Finding out that there are people I know that if they get coronavirus, they're basically dead. And some of them that I'm talking about are not even 35 years of age yet. So this is really scary stuff. So guys, please be careful. I'm sorry to be talking about it for almost 13 minutes into my weekly roundup video, but for me, in my opinion, I feel it's necessary and I feel it's important to discuss this here today. So I'm not ending the video yet. Let's now get into some hockey stuff. So to my subscribers, Orbital, and to Windy City Hockey, I want to thank you guys for giving me some ideas to discuss in terms of the weekly roundup today. So guys, I want to include you and your ideas in this video, and thank you for the suggestions, by the way. I really appreciate it. So Orbital has asked me to discuss what I think the NHL should do if they're able to resume their regular operations to the best extent possible. So seeing that most teams have now played about 70 games, I would love to see them cram a bunch of games in so that every team can play 82 games, or even just shorten it down to 80 games. Why do I think that they should bring the regular season back to at least play 80 games? Is so that all teams, whether they're the good teams, bad teams, or the downright ugly teams, Detroit, sorry, I just had to clear my throat there, and sorry to you Red Wings fans out there, but it is true. Even the teams I like have hit rock bottom more than once, so you may be at the bottom of the NHL now, but remember, your franchise had been to the playoffs every year for 25 years straight. So if that isn't something to commend your team for, plus all those beautiful Stanley Cup victories you had with Steve Yzerman, Brendan Shanahan, Chris Chelios, even though you guys are the dumpster fire of the NHL right now in 2020, guess what? You guys have a bunch of glorious years behind you that you can look back on and rub in the face of all these other franchises who are making fun of you, and these fan bases that are making fun of you. So you guys may be sucking right now, but you know what? Ever since basically, I don't know, basically 1991, the Red Wings have slowly become a staple in the NHL over between 1991 and basically 2016 or 2015. I can't remember when their last playoff appearance was, but you know, the Detroit Red Wings had a quarter century of annual playoff visits and Stanley Cup championships. I mean, if that isn't something to be proud of, I don't know what is. So, you guys may be the ugly of the NHL right now, and same with the Los Angeles Kings, but the Kings have had 2 Stanley Cups in the past decade, and between 1991 and 2016, the Red Wings had won multiple Stanley Cups. I believe at least 3, maybe even 4. I can't remember off the top of my head. So, if people say that your team sucks, just think about all the glory years you've had over the past 30, basically in the past 30 years. It's really not as bad as you think. Excuse me, guys. I've been talking for a while, and I do sometimes get a little bit of a dust allergy. And yeah, but with Detroit, I mean, they're the ugly now, but the past 30 years, they've been basically the best franchise in the NHL for the most part in a lot of ways. So, I mean, you got to give credit where it's due, as far as I'm concerned. But what I think they should do, Orbital, sorry for getting off topic, man, but here is how I feel. I think that it would be great if the NHL could get enough games in for every team so that every team can play an 80-game season. For the first round, make it a best of, maybe even make it just a best of 3. Where the first game, where the team with the better record gets to play games 2 and 3 at home, and the lower seeded team gets to host game 1. So for the first round, I'd do a best of 3. For the second and third rounds, I would just stick to best of 5s and then make the Stanley Cup final a best of 7. That's what I would do. And you know what? The reason I would make the first round a best of 3 is because they're going to have to cram in a bunch of games anyway. And this way, you can get to the second round a little bit sooner and have game 2 and game 3 if necessary on back-to-back nights. Condense the schedule and get the first round done as fast as possible so that you're not playing into September. So, because who knows, the National Hockey League may very well not be coming back until maybe even sometime next year in 2021. Do I think that in 6 months from now we'll see NHL hockey again? Or, I mean, by the fall? I'm hoping. But until this pandemic starts to get under control, who knows how long we're going to be without sports. So I would do it first round, best of 3. Plenty of games for a first round under the extraordinarily horrible circumstance that is the COVID-19 pandemic. For the second and third rounds, I would make them best of 5s to once again try and keep the playoffs shorter in length to as much as possible while keeping series and while trying to make it more fair by giving teams a proper series to the best of the NHL's ability under the circumstances. And then for the Stanley Cup final, I would honor the annual tradition and I would make it a best of 7. I think a best of 7 for the Stanley Cup final is the right thing to do. Now, in my opinion, depending on how long this pandemic goes on, you could even make the second round just a best of 3 for all I care. I would just be happy to see this season have a Stanley Cup champion. But why would I make the season at least 80 games for all 31 NHL franchises? Well, the reason for that is so that all of the teams have a chance to either A, get back into the swing of things, or B, recover any momentum that they had when the season was stopped because of this pandemic. I don't think it's fair when teams don't have any chance to at least build something before the playoffs. And, for teams such as St. Louis and Boston, whether you're fans of those teams, whether you're a fan of those teams or not, I think it's fair for every team to at least have a chance to pick up where they left off. So the Bruins, the Blues, and the Lightning of the NHL At least they can have a chance to get some momentum. And then I think that if they do fall apart, then at least they had a chance to pick up where they left off to the best of the NHL and the scheduling department in that league's ability. For the NBA, I would basically do the same thing. I'm hoping that all of the leagues, whether I'm a fan of them or not, get back together and get back to where they left off to the best of their ability. Also, for Major League Baseball, I mean, their seasons are super, super long anyway. So basically, their season technically wouldn't even be starting yet until I believe the end of this month, in the next week or so, and early April. As far as I know, I'm not fully sure when the baseball season fully starts, but I think it's end of March, early April. Correct me if I'm wrong. But you know what? If I'd rather Major League Baseball play a condensed schedule than have no season at all. Thankfully, in terms of football, the NFL is done for the season. Thankfully, they got to at least complete their season. As for the Canadian Football League, they do not start until June. I think that once we start getting hotter weather and we get even longer days, people will be able to get more sunlight exposure. Hotter temperatures usually are a good thing for anybody concerned about flu season. So hopefully by then, this pandemic will start to hopefully recede and get under control. Fingers crossed there. So even if the CFL has to play a condensed season, I don't care. I would, safety first. I'd rather us not have any sports at all for the next 6 months to a year, if that's what it takes, than have this coronavirus wipe out in all of mankind. And I gotta say, it is what it is. But once again, Orbital, I'm so sorry for getting distracted again. But that's what I would do. I'd have the season, I'd try and cram in enough games for everybody to play 80 games if possible, or even 75. Do the first round as a best of 3, maybe even the second round as a best of 3. You could even have them as best of 5s if they get back to operations within the next month, even if they have to play in empty arenas. I don't care. Whatever it takes for either the coronavirus to get under control or to have the league be able to finish up their season, which would be good too. But once again, I'd rather them be on full shutdown right now than expose any more people to COVID-19. But if the NHL is able to resume operations, and I hope that all of the professional sports leagues will be able to resume eventually, hopefully sooner rather than later, that's what I do. I try and have the NHL complete an 80-game season. Even if they have to reschedule games and condense the season down a bit, I don't care. Whatever it takes, if they're able to come back, which hopefully they will be. Same with the NBA. Then first round, best of 3, second and third rounds. Maybe you could make the second round a best of 3 if needed, or do it and the third round is best of 5s, and then the Stanley Cup final with a best of 7. And the same with the NBA as well. But that's what I would try to do. Now, Nick, for you, and this is the request from Windy City Hockey. So you were saying that the salary cap may be coming down next season. That would be, I think, for some teams really concerning. I'm not sure what the NHL should do about the salary cap at this point. I'm honestly more concerned about us as a society and as a civilization getting our pandemic situation under control. But with the salary cap, I mean, I'm hoping that they can increase, hopefully they can increase it like what I had been hearing that they would. That would be, I would prefer if they allowed the teams to spend a little bit more money, but we'll see. And actually, you said there was one complaint buyout or something. I'd have to, read that again. But from what you were saying to me, I think a complaint buyout, I'd rather they just say, hey, let's increase the salary cap a little bit like I had been hearing they were supposedly contemplating. I think they should just honor what they were going to do before. But we'll see. It all depends on how this whole situation plays out. When these leagues can get back to operations and how they're affected as a result of this pandemic. But you know what? I hope the cap doesn't come down. I know it'll affect a lot of teams if it does. And I'm hoping that they can increase the salary cap just a little bit. And I think that would be the best way to go, especially when we all know that an expansion draft is getting underway soon. Once there's an expansion draft, or once an expansion draft is announced, which it is happening, obviously, because Seattle's coming into the league, hopefully next year as scheduled. But with the NHL team in Seattle, there's going to be an expansion draft there, and I think that lowering the salary cap right now is really not right. Teams are already getting ready to be picked off and have more players picked off again for the second time within 5 years because of another expansion draft. You know, making teams having to be frantically sending players off and potentially good future talent and good players to other teams or out of their caps or out of their franchises or out of their clubs because of the salary cap coming down and then getting ready for an expansion draft. I don't think that's right. And another thing I don't like too, I understand that Las Vegas is a new NHL franchise, but they've been in this league long enough that I think they should have to be dealing with this expansion draft like everybody else. Sorry. I mean, I don't think it's fair that only 30 of the NHL's 31 franchises have to get players plucked off by this Seattle NHL team, which will sadly likely be called the Kraken. Now, obviously, I know some of you love that name. Personally, I don't, and I respect your opinion, guys. If you like Kraken and they name the team Kraken, I'm happy for you. But I think the name Seattle Kraken sucks. Sorry, it's not a timeless name. It sounds stupid. It reminds me of the Minnesota Wild in terms of stupidity. But, you know, I gotta say, obviously that was my personal opinion, and I know not every one of you is going to agree with me there, and I respect that. But the thing is that, you know, why are the Golden Knights exempt from this expansion draft? They've been in this league for a few years. If they had only been in the league for a season or two, okay. But this is their third season as a franchise. I think they should be part of this expansion draft too. Sorry, I don't think they should be exempt. Obviously, not everyone's going to like me saying that, and I understand that. But, you know, if it wasn't for this pandemic, this season would end, and they would have had 3 full seasons as an organization and as a franchise in the NHL. You know, I think they've had enough time where they can be a part of an expansion draft for another new team getting ready to set up shop. Sorry. That's how I feel. But anyways, guys, I want to thank Windy City Hockey and Orbital for your suggestions for stuff to talk about this week for the weekly roundup. I really appreciate your suggestions, and thank you for giving me some material to work with today to discuss. I hope that all of you have enjoyed this video, and I do have some good news. For my next weekly roundup video, I do already have something in mind that I will talk about that is hockey related, and I think you guys will like what I discuss next week. But hopefully I will have some time to maybe get another video or two uploaded between now and then. But anyways, you guys, I'd love to hear your thoughts on anything I've discussed in this video, whether it's COVID-19 or the great suggestions for stuff to talk about from Orbital and Windy City Hockey, 2 of my subscribers. But yeah, so I hope that under the circumstances, this video has been worth your time. I hope it's been worth watching. I hope that under the circumstances, all of you are staying coronavirus free, and hopefully we will make the world COVID-19 free again sooner rather than later. All right, guys, on that note, hopefully I will have a video, at least one video between now and next Sunday when I'm supposed to do my next roundup video like this one. But if I don't, I will definitely be back next Sunday for another roundup video. But on that note, guys, I hope you've enjoyed this video if you've watched it all the way from start to finish. And until my next video, whether it's between now and next Sunday or next Sunday, take care, and as usual, folks, bye for now.